So I wanted to come on here and talk about some of the things that I've learned just over the years, like in my many different careers, and also graduating a boot camp and the best way to get a job, and just some little tips and tricks. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert. I've never been a recruiter, but there have just been people that have mentored me along the way that have shared things with me, and I just want to pass them along to you in case you guys don't already know. So I graduated a boot camp in 2019. I went to a full stack program at UCLA Extension. It was a 6 month course. I did a video on it. Check it out. It's called My Boot Camp Experience: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There was good, there was bad, and there was ugly, but nonetheless, it was an incredible journey and it led me to where I am today. And I have a really great job working as an engineer on the testing side at a pretty big company that's maybe I'm biased, but it's pretty amazing. And I love what I do. But my journey was pretty easy getting to where I am now. But I know a lot of people who their journey wasn't as easy, and so I thought, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna share some of my tips. Okay, so the first thing, probably obvious, right, is that you want to have a resume, and there are some conflicting arguments with how your resume should look or how it should be written. I will just say that from my perspective, if you're applying for an engineering role, you don't have to have a crazy creative resume that like the way it looks is going to stand out, right? Because that's not your job. If you're trying to be a designer or like UX designer or UI designer, yeah, you probably want to have like a super creative, cool, colorful resume. But if you're planning to be an engineer, I think that your technical skills need to speak for themselves, and that's what needs to be the focal point of your resume. So from what I heard, you're gonna want to maybe not use a template so much, like a cool template. You're gonna want to just do kind of something basic, like in Microsoft, like Google Sheets, not Sheets, Google Word. So, um, kind of use just like their basic like resume template. And that being said, a lot of companies use something called application tracking system, and that basically scans resumes and it searches for keywords and it comes back and it'll say like, okay, this person is an 80% match of what we're looking for. And a lot of companies, I think, want it to be like 80% and up before they even will consider you. So starting off with kind of like that basic template, not pretty, but if that company is using an application tracking system, that is something that you want to do. You don't want them to scan it and it not be able to. In terms of scanning, they're going to scan for keywords. So they're going to match up what job description is versus what your resume is. So you want to tailor your resume to what that job description is. And so if the job description is saying need to have experience in a framework like React or Vue, you're going to want to put that on your resume. So going through and kind of like tailoring your resume and basically kind of like copying and pasting what they're saying that they want. And you just say, yeah, I can do those things. So that's number one. And then of course, like if you're coming and you don't have experience working at a company, then you're going to put your projects on there because that's what you've been focused on for the last however months or year or so. So you're going to want to put your best projects on your resume and be as technical as you can be. I thought, when I first started applying for jobs that my resume was great because I have been in, corporate roles and startups, and I felt like I knew how to write a resume. And I sent a resume to one of my friends who's been in engineering for years, and he was like, "No, you can update all of these things." And he just made it so much more technical, like he was using words like single page applications. So maybe that's a me thing, but I wasn't being as technical as I could have been. So another thing is like making sure, just like, do your research and look online and try to find other people's resumes and see what they're putting. Definitely look for people who have more experience, because they have that lingo and it's second nature to them, and we don't know what the heck they're saying half the time, but like they got it. So look at other people's resumes. Also, another great trick just to use for probably everything in life is ChatGPT. Take your resume when you're done, pop it in there, and just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, make this better." I mean, I say make this better. There's probably other ways to like go about asking ChatGPT to do things, but like just like going on there and saying like, "Hey, how can you make this more technical?" That will really help. And then the last thing for your resume is your jobs. Like, if you don't have experience, I'm not saying to like full on lie, because I don't think that lying, if you're not actually qualified to do something, is going to be good for you in the long term. But I've been told a lot, just kind of, you want to like plump up, you want to look maybe a little bit better than you really are. And so figure out how you can twist things in a positive way for yourself. So if maybe you worked on a project with someone who had much more experience than you and was a mentor in some sort of ways, like you can say that's an intern. Like there are ways to twist things for sure. And I've definitely done it. I'm not ashamed of it. I know I'm not the only one that's done it. So if you think about your competition, like you just have to kind of keep up with the Joneses and what they're doing. Yeah. So those are the main points for your resume. You're gonna want to put your GitHub on there, which leads me to my next thing is pumping up your GitHub too. Make sure that you're staying active on there, because if recruiters go and they look at it, or engineers go and look at it, they're going to want to see those green blocks. They're going to want to see that you're still coding. They're going to want to see that you love what you do. So make sure you're still being active there. Make sure on your front page that you are showcasing your best projects, because that's what they're going to see, right? They may or may not go deep into it, or they may not go on it at all. But if they do, you're going to want your front page to look amazing. So profile pictures, for sure. You want to show who you are. You want to show that you're a person, showcasing your projects. And if you have time, I think if you're out in the community and you're working on open source projects and you're contributing to other work, there are very simple, very easy open source projects that you can find online to contribute to, and that's going to make you look great too. If you can be Googled, if they look at your work and they can very clearly see like this person's active and this person loves what they're doing, I think that's going to go really far as well. So okay, so once you've kind of like nailed down your resume and you've nailed down your GitHub, and maybe you've worked on your own personal website, then there's applying for the jobs. And in my mind, there's kind of like two main routes that you can go. Okay, for me, I live in LA, and it's very competitive. It's very tough to get a job, like whether it was in the tech industry or getting a job at Starbucks. Like there's so many people out here and there's so much competition. Side story, off topic, I know I'm rambling, but when I moved out here, I thought it's going to be fine. I moved out with no job, and I thought I'll just get like a job at a restaurant, like an easy serving job. It doesn't matter. I'll do whatever I can to like make it work out here. And little did I know that actors and actresses were out here, like they had restaurant jobs, serving jobs, waitressing jobs, because it was the most flexible for them to go on auditions. And so even something as simple as that, it was like I couldn't even get that, you know? So I understand like the struggle of getting a tech job, and let alone your first tech job, right? Because I feel like some companies, they are very open to hiring engineers like us because we're easy to mold and we want to learn and we're so eager. And that's why we go to a boot camp and struggle for like 6 months or longer. Um, so, but then there's also other companies that are very, very hard to get into. And if you don't have experience, they're not going to look at you by any means whatsoever. So yeah, I would say with that, networking. Networking is so important to do because you're basically, you have people who are vouching for you. That is the only way that I have gotten jobs out here in LA, even working at Starbucks. I was introduced to a manager at the location that I was at when I first moved here. Starbucks was my first job, and I'd already worked at Starbucks at like my hometown. And yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that job without being introduced because there's was my little dog, her little tail. Um, yeah, so I can't stress the importance of networking and meeting people, like minded people, people in your industry, building those relationships, connections. Like they may not pan out immediately, but the more you build up your relationships and your network, and the bigger it is, you'll be surprised, like down the line, how that's going to help you. And I mean, you have to genuinely like these people. Like, I don't keep people around just because they're going to get me a job somewhere. Like, they're my friends, but they're just as hardworking as me and they're doing the same stuff that I'm doing. And so, I mean, I didn't even apply for the company that I'm working at now. And it was a lot smaller at the time. And had I tried to get in, like at this point now, I think it would have been a lot harder. Stop it, Cease. And so, yeah, I had a friend that was looking out for me, and he helped me get into the company that I'm at now, and I'm so grateful for it. So I would say like networking has panned out for me. Just my relationships have really worked out for me, but I know that not everyone has that luxury. And so if you haven't been building up your network, when you apply for jobs, it's going to be a numbers game. You are not the only person applying for these roles, obviously, you know that. And there's so much competition. And so at that point, it's kind of like a numbers game. So I've seen a lot of people posting their journeys and applying for hundreds of jobs just to get 5 interviews or so. So what I was told, um, when I was searching for a job, and my network wasn't really panning out, I was told to have a generic resume with all of my skills and just push them out. Just apply and apply and apply and apply. But have your mindset on specific companies that you want to work for. When you are looking for jobs and you see one that you really want, that's when you're going to want to tailor your resume. That's when you're going to want to do everything you can. Connect with people on LinkedIn, reach out to people on LinkedIn, cold emails, cold messaging, like try really hard for those. But ultimately, it's a numbers game. The more you apply, the better your chances are. And at some point, you're going to start getting hits. And that leads me into the next thing. When you start getting hits, you need to be ready for these interviews because they're tough. Okay. So there's companies that like to do algorithm problems, data structures and algorithm problems. So while you're in school, I would definitely recommend already starting go to LeetCode, go to HackerRank, start looking up easy algorithm problems, easy array problems, strings, hashes, getting really familiar with those. They are really hard to understand at first. And if you need to, go to Udemy and look up data structures and algorithms, and you can find people that break it down for you. Or YouTube, you can just find these resources to kind of like help you get into it and start practicing them again and again. You can even look up like what are the top LeetCode problems or top HackerRank problems that are given in be specific, like what you're Googling, like what are the problems that a front end engineer will come across in an interview or a back end engineer. And you'll see other people are responding and they'll say, these are some of the top ones, and get to understand those, know them like the back of your hand. Yeah, because a lot of times you're doing these algorithm problems and like you can't Google things. So I would have notes off to the side, and I mean it's not really cheating. I don't like cheating, but I would have like notes off to my side of like the different methods that I could use and reminders like, okay, what does this method do? Is it creating an array or is it manipulating the array? Just like really knowing those methods and then really understanding those algorithm problems are going to help. But then if there's companies that don't have algorithm problems, then they're probably going to give you a take-home project, and you really have to, if you're going to be live coding in front of someone, that's nerve-wracking. So you really want to practice your skills, and just keep coding, and that's going to help you in the long run for sure. And if all else fails because you're not really getting any hits or because the economy isn't that great right now, people are getting laid off, I think that it's time to then start being creative and start standing out. I think that I'm very happy with the company that I'm at right now, but I'd like to think that if I started applying for other companies and there was a company that I really wanted to stand out with, I would probably do some Google Foo, like Ninja Foo stuff to like find an engineering managers or CTO or even the CEOs. Like I would do what I can to find their email. You definitely can if you search hard enough, or even just like send them a message on LinkedIn. I would definitely send them a message, and it wouldn't be a very generic message. But I think what I would do is, because my background is in testing, I would probably go to their website and I would try to break their website, and I would try to find bugs on their website, or maybe just some suggestions of what I think could be improved on that website. And I would send them that and basically showcase them my skills. And even if I couldn't find any bugs, I would just tell them, like, I searched through your whole website and I clicked through and I didn't find any bugs, and just commend them on their quality. So I think like really just going out of your way to show that you want to work for these companies, and kind of acting like you're already working for them, and just say like, hey, these are things I noticed. I think that's really going to help you stand out in the long run. Yeah. So those are my tips. I hope they were helpful. And if you're applying for jobs right now, you don't have a job, you're in a job that you don't like, I wish you the best of luck. Yeah, thanks for listening. Reach out if you want to talk or you have any questions. If you liked this video. All right.